Karen McElroy with you again today. It's a bit of a rainy day here in summer in Queensland, so it's a good day to get in the kitchen. So I thought I'd make some elderberry syrup because I do need to harvest my elderberries, which are laden on my big tree down there at the moment. So I'm going to teach you how to make a syrup and how you can utilise this wonderful herb for its antiviral compounds as an immune boost for you to have now or throughout the winter as well. Obviously, depending on when you want to make it, we can use dried berries or fresh berries. But we'll get down and harvest some of my berries and we'll get back in the kitchen and teach you all about how to make it yourself. Okay, so here we are back in my veggie garden and just come in to collect some elderberries to make my elderberry syrup. So it's a little bit wet here today, a bit rainy, but I'm going to be harvesting the berries and you can see them all here growing beautifully. So I'm going to pick all these. There's quite a lot here on this beautiful big tree of mine. And this tree has lots of young seedlings here that just keep coming up. So let's gather some of these berries. So here is my big harvest, a big bowl here full of elderberries. So can't quite carry them all. Anyway, let's take them back to the kitchen and we'll make our syrup. Okay, so here we are back in the kitchen now. I've just brought all these elderberries in from the garden and I have quite a harvest here. So what we're going to have to do now is separate all these little tiny berries off their stalks that they come on, which is going to be a bit of a job. But then we'll have a beautiful juice that we can use to make the elderberry syrup. So you can use fresh berries as I'm doing here, or you can also use dried berries, and the recipe is a little bit different for that, so I'll be giving you two options there on the website. The other thing to be aware of is when you're making an elderberry syrup, you can either use honey or you can use sugar. The benefit with using sugar, and I do recommend you use organic sugar if you're going to have this option, is that sugar is a much better preservative for longevity, so you'll be able to keep your syrup at room temperature rather than in the fridge, which you'll need to do if you use honey. So there is benefits from using honey in terms of probiotics and other aspects, but it doesn't keep as well. So as we take all these berries off, I'm going to just share with you a little bit about the antiviral compounds. Elderberry, as you may have heard in some of my other videos, is a wonderful remedy for viruses, colds and flus, etc., which are mostly caused by viruses. And we know that we need antiviral medication. Mainstream medicine doesn't have very many options for that, so it's wonderful that we have something natural that we can use that is very safe and effective. So the little purple colours that we see here in the berries are from something called anthocyanin compounds. And these are what gives the berry its antiviral action. So it's a lovely part of that plant that we can use. It prevents the replication of the virus at the beginning and throughout the viral replication. So you can use this at the beginning of an illness and also during the later stages of the illness as well. So elder is wonderful for that. So I'm going to keep harvesting here, making my juice, and then I'll come back to you with making the syrup. So I finished the arduous job of getting all the little berries off their stalks, and here I have my full harvest, and I've got almost 800 grams here of the little berries, which I was pretty pleased about. Now what we're going to do now to make the syrup is to cook these berries up into a liquid syrup, and then we'll add some sugar to the end product to preserve it. Now the reason we cook elderberries is because inside the elderberry is a compound that's a little bit toxic to us. So the compound is related to cyanide and is part of that anthocyanin compound. So you can see the beautiful colour here of the berries, which will give us this syrup that will end up being a beautiful rich purple colour. So when we cook these up, I'm going to actually be doing two batches today. One batch I'm going to be putting some ginger and cinnamon in as well. So we've got some organic cinnamon there and ginger, and so I'll be making that into its own special little syrup. Ginger and cinnamon also have lovely medicinal compounds, so I'll be able to add those to one of my batches. The other one will be straight elderberry syrup. So I'll add the water to these and we'll get going with that. So just tipping them in. Now we're going to add the amount of water that just covers them up, so I'm going to get a nice brew. And then I'll add the sugar weight for weight with the liquid at the end. So we need, when we're adding sugar, we need to get it preserved to around about a 1:1. So 1 part liquid to 1 part sugar to make sure we get a nice preservative. So I'm going to cook these up now and I'll pop. So while I was just down in the garden, I actually decided to pick some of my beautiful holy basil here, which I thought it's a fantastic herb as well for the immune system. So I'm going to make a little bit of a combo here, which is going to have the holy basil, and in here I've got the fresh ginger and some dried cinnamon, which I'm going to add with the elderberries. So just being a little bit creative here. So I'm going to make a little medicinal brew, which I think is going to taste really delicious as well, actually. We always like our medicines to taste good, though a lot of our herbs that have bitter components are not that great tasting. So a lot of people prefer to take tablets, but I really think it's great to honour the herbs in all their varied ways. Here's the syrup coming along here now with the water simmering there. And it's just thought I'd mention while we're looking at this beautiful concoction brewing here, you can actually use these beautiful purple berries as well for dyes. They were traditionally used to dye fabrics. It's like a rich, deep purpley pink kind of colour. And some other research about elderberry as well. So other than the antiviral components, which I've been focusing on today, it also has a blood sugar lowering effect, which is very good for people with diabetes or high blood sugar problems. It also has an anti-inflammatory effects. It's been quite a bit of research on it for sinusitis, so that congested sinus problems. We can use elder for that as well. So a lot of flavonoids. So most of the berries that we find in nature are rich in what we call flavonoids, and these flavonoid components have this antioxidant action which helps to prevent free radical damage to our cells. So elderberries are actually very high in these components, much higher than blueberries and some of those other important berries that we like to encourage people to eat more of. And there is a little bit of destruction of some of those components in the vitamin C as well from cooking. So we're not going to overcook this syrup. It's important that we just allow the syrup to kill off some of those toxic components, but we want to maintain as much as we can of all the good stuff in there. Amazing, beautiful, rich pink-purple colour here that the berries are exuding into their liquid. I used a stick mixer just to puree this up a little bit. This front pot's got the extra other herbs in it. And I just thought I'd show you just how amazing this colour is. So if you did want to use it for any kind of dyes, you can see the colour of that. It is pretty special. So what we're going to do is strain these off now, and then I'll work out the amount of sugar I need to put in to preserve them. So I might do this little front one first, which has all the other goodies in there. There's the holy basil, the ginger, and the cinnamon. So there's lots of benefits from those other herbs, and I think this will make a nice little immune boosting formula. So I'm just going to let that strain off, give it a little bit of help here. So we're going to have a pulp that's left over, and we're going to get as much of that medicinal actions out into the liquid to ensure we get the strongest medicine. So I'll come back once I've got that liquid, and then we'll be weighing it up, measuring up the liquid to this sugar amount. So the liquid is there. Alright, so we've got about 300 mils here of this beautiful liquid, which means we'll need to add about 300 grams of sugar to make that a 1-in-1 preserving for a syrup. So I'm going to add that back into the pan. Okay, so here we have the finished syrup. This is the straight elder, and this is the elder combo with the ginger, cinnamon and holy basil. And I have to say they're very tasty. I think they would be delicious over pancakes or something more decadent like ice cream, but that would be truly food as medicine. So let's get them poured into their jars for storage. So I'm just going to pour this one in, and a very delicious looking bottle of syrup there. Remember, when you do any of these things with elder, it's actually quite messy. You can see the colour all over the bench here. I've got stains everywhere, but it's just quite an amazing colour. So if you do any hand dyeing, I would recommend using the elderberry. So I've got 2 little bottles here of that mixed syrup, and then we'll pour in the other one to the bigger bottles. Okay, so there we have our finished syrup ready to label in their bottles. I probably will keep these ones in the fridge. Just any syrup, it's probably safer to keep it in the fridge, especially here in warm, sunny Queensland. If you live in colder parts of the world, it probably will preserve quite nicely out of the fridge, but it's always good to keep it in the fridge for longevity. Hey, so I hope you've enjoyed learning all about how to make elderberry syrup, and I hope I've inspired you to actually make some as well. Fantastic little remedy to have in the cupboard or the fridge, and you can give it to anyone who's not feeling the best at that first sign of a cold or flu coming on. Remember, the research does show it to be fantastic if you can get onto it at the beginning of a virus, though you can use it any time. It will help to shorten the duration of that virus. So I will be giving you some extra recipes and things on linked to my website. So if you want to jump on board and have a look at those as well to get the exact recipes and how to make it and learn a little bit more about herbs and plant medicine and the immune system, it's all there. Just look at the links under the bottom of this video, and I look forward to speaking to you next time. Bye for now.